So today we're not going to talk about prophecies to come. We're going to talk about what's really going on right now because we're in the event. No more looking for that event to create something here. We're already going through it. I have witnessed some things. You have. Things are happening around us, and we have to pay attention and to what's going on in your body. I'm going to talk about Dolores Cannon, what she had to say. Federico Faggin, if you don't know who he is, I'm going to explain. He's a scientist and a very smart one who had a mystical experience that prompted him to prove to people that the one consciousness is what truly rules, not the material world, that we are creating it. But are you going through the split right now? Let's talk about what those symptoms are. That is probably not what you think it is. I'm going to explain. Let's go. Welcome to Landria, Onkka on YouTube. I'm here to help you break past fear. Fear is a limiting emotion. It's limiting. It keeps you in opposition of other people. And I just want to remind you of something about fear and one consciousness and this new world. Fear is why people attack you, say nasty things, because they're in their own personal hell, basically. They're in a low frequency. It's never personal. It's always an agenda for themselves. War, all these things are going on. They're not prompted by we, the people. They're prompted by personal gain and power. Okay, that's the ego. So I want you to remember when you break through fear, you're going to go into the space that we're going to talk about today that's going to start to transform your body because we cannot enter the new earth. I'm explaining exactly what that is with your current physical frequency. In fact, you are already built for a higher frequency. You know, the junk DNA. Why would we have all this empty space? That's not evolution, right? That's not Darwinism. That's an existing state of which we can grow into, and that's what's happening now. Same thing with your brain. They say we don't use all of our brain. Well, then why do we have it? Because we can grow into it and become those masterful people that maybe our future visiting us. And we're not going to talk about that today, but we are going to talk about the 2026 consciousness split, the science of the new earth. You're going to love this. Please subscribe. Guys, you want to become a member? Go down in the description because we're having open discussions. We're going to have one tomorrow exactly about this. Now, we just had an event happen here. In fact, there's still a residual of that. Planets aligning. Go watch that video. Solar flares and cosmic energy blasts all at the same time. I saw the effects of that. And that was a sun halo. It was actually a double one. What causes that? Crystals. That's what we're going to talk about today. There are no coincidences. That is not an event that stands alone. It is prompted by us. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example how this works. So you're going to say, wait a minute. The sun has solar flares. We're not doing it. No. Here's how it works. If you're in the room with me and you tell a really funny joke and I laugh, you caused me to laugh. You didn't create me, but you caused me to laugh. You and I are connected. So we're causing these other beings, these other sentient creations of one source to react to us. We are connected in that way. So these things that are happening absolutely are a reflection and mirror of what's going on. This is why we are told by Edgar Cayce and others that we can end any prophecy or prediction. We can bring it to a screeching halt. If you don't believe that, then it won't be. So we're going to talk about how this new earth split is actually operating in a scientific explanation because no, you don't actually leave the earth. And I think decades ago, our only explanation was that, boom, you're plucked out and you go someplace else. Well, that doesn't make any sense, does it? This is a progression. Unless you're on the level of Christ frequency, chances are pretty good you're not going to get plucked out. You probably still have fears or anger or resentments or judgment. We all have to work on that. That's part of the progress of being a human. So let's talk about this. Something is happening to the human nervous systems that science is only just beginning to name. And you're going to hear a lot more about it. It's like, what is going on? holy cow, let's actually look at that DNA. And if you felt a sense of, so let's talk about the feelings here, because I'm totally on board with this. If you felt a sense of detachment from the world around you, detachment's a good thing, by the way. Now, I didn't say not caring, detachment. Like you're watching a movie that no longer interests you, that's the movement. You aren't alone. Dolores Cannon called this the split. This is the split. She predicted that the Earth would vibrate into two distinct frequencies, and those who couldn't match the new resonance would be left behind. Sorry, that's just how it is. It's a choice, and everyone is welcome. So it's April 2026 as of this video. Going to change here shortly. And the data shows the split isn't a metaphor anymore. It's biological. All right. So we're talking about some of those symptoms. Those of you who had burning or something going on at the base of your neck, that's the vagus nerve. And I had a burning for weeks until recently, until this event happened. Let's talk about Dolores Cannon, the 3 waves of volunteers. You've probably heard that. If not, I'll explain that. Through the decades of her hypnotizing clients, she was getting information from other beings on the other side that were dictating books, dozens of books to her, information, and she would ask them questions. She had a dialogue going. And when the client came out of hypnosis, they had no clue that this conversation went on. Now, she would go to, let's say, from the US to Japan and put somebody under, never speaking of this conversation that was going on. And after doing the regression, they would come in, they would never interfere with the actual session, and they would come in then, give more information, and they would pick up exactly where they left off. This person had no way of knowing what that discussion was or where they were, and they were dictating a book. And so how do you explain that? She got some incredible information. I'm going to put her books up here if you want to go read them. It'll blow your mind. So she was able to identify a specific window where the old Earth and the new Earth would occupy the same space, but at different frequencies. Now, of course, they never named dates because if we don't get our act together, it could be decades before that happens. But we're seeing the signs of the split Earth happening, which is great. Just remember, this isn't an overnight plucking you out. This is a gradual transformation of the frequencies, and people will go into the higher one existing on the same planet. So you're probably thinking, when do I get out of here? You may be witnessing the low frequencies, and they will have no clue that we're going into this other space because they can't imagine what we're feeling and experiencing, the love, the compassion, because they're still in that control ego phase of low frequency old Earth. So here's a fact. She claimed that a great shift would occur where the physical body would need to transition from carbon-based to crystalline-based. Remember the double ring around the sun? That whole event? Crystals. I don't think they're coincidences. I think that there are signs everywhere. Now, we can read into things all we want. I believe that was a huge message. And Stephen Burns' channel, you might want to go check that out. He talked about the alignment, and the energy that's coming off of that is directly connected to our spiritual frequencies and the Schumann resonance. Let's talk about the 2026 alignment. We're talking a lot about Chris Bledsoe, who's telling us things are happening now, and we don't know what event's going to happen with him, but we know that whatever we're doing here is going to dictate these events, all right? Looking at the timing, we're currently seeing an unprecedented surge in solar activity and interstellar objects like 3I Atlas. And there's another comet that came by, and I talked about that in my last video. In prophetic terms, these are the triggers that force the frequency shift she described. All right? They are working in tandem with us. So these signs that we see, we're prompting them. You're either anchoring into the new Earth or you're being pulled back into the density of the old one. So be very careful. Just because you go in a higher frequency doesn't mean you just stay there. You have to work at it and keep going. I've been in a super high awakened state that's freaky, and I didn't stay there. Eckhart Tolle spoke of this. You have to come down. Otherwise, you become detached. Like I said earlier, you become detached and you want nothing to do with the world. Well, if you're a teacher or you have a mission and you need to help, You have to come down from there because if you stay up there, you would just go off to a mountain and eat rice till the day you die and say, good luck, everybody. This allows you to function in the world and be of service. So those of you think, well, I'm not there yet, you may be there more than you think. So let's talk about all these signs. The 39 hertz and the observer. By the way, I just reached out to the top seller of the 39 hertz meditations, and I hope to be working with them because I think this is going to be a powerful tool for you to use. How does a planet shift frequency? So this is where Federico Faggin, the father of the microprocessor, provides the missing link. I wouldn't be talking to you without him or on our phones. He's a billionaire, and he had a mystical experience where he was a total materialist. He was trying to see if AI could have a conscience and realized, no, we do that. The energy of all things is consciousness. His mystical experience was light bursting from his heart, and he connected to source, knowing all things, feeling that unbelievable euphoria, and knowing what we are. So his research into quantum information has become massive. You might want to look him up. He suggests that consciousness is the fundamental nature of the universe. It's intelligent. It is all-knowing. That's the nature of the universe, of all things. The rock, you, me, and you and I are one energy field that shares this. Well, it's not even space. Let's talk about the 39 hertz mechanism. So our brains normally operate in the 15 hertz range, beta range, the frequency of stress and the matrix. But the Earth, the new Earth, resonance is 39 hertz gamma. This is why it's recommended to listen to 39 hertz in meditations. It helps condition your brain to that. Now, it doesn't enlighten you. You can't go out and act like a jackass after you listen to that. You won't want to. It's going to feel good. You want to stay in that high frequency. So it's training you to say, you know what? I don't need to judge or be angry. You want to keep going there. So doing that frequently is going to make a difference for you and help accelerate your movement into the new earth. So the connection at 39 hertz, your brain achieves global coherence. It's not just about you. It's about everything. This is the biological equivalent of Dolores Cannon's 5D shift. You move from being an object in the world to being the observer of the world. Have you been the observer? That if you experience that, I have, where you're out here and you realize I am this. You're actually functioning outside your body, and that is the higher self. You're not disconnected from it. It's not separate from you. You're actually functioning on that level. You're observing, and you're detached from the world. If you're experiencing that, congratulations, you're going into that shift. And so when you hit 39 hertz, the old world problems literally stop rendering in your field of awareness. What's rendering? Manifesting. All right. It literally stops. You have no focus or connection to it at all. You're focused on higher things and beauty and peace. And therefore, that's when wars stop. That's when people end conflict. We affect them, right? You make me laugh. There was no joke before you came in the room. That's how it works. Prayer. Keep prayer up. Send your light and love. Let's talk about solar storms and DNA. So between April 17th and the 23rd, we were tracking a series of coronal mass ejections. They aren't just energy storms. When solar plasma hits the Earth's magnetosphere, it creates induction. Your heart, which is the strongest electromagnetic oscillator in your body, responds to this. I actually had some little stuff going on last 2 days. I'm like, what is that? And so, yes, this could be affecting you. Have you had that? Don't be afraid. We are interacting with this energy, and it can be very powerful at times. So let's talk about the prophecy of Edgar Cayce. He predicted that a shift in the Earth's poles would be preceded by the sun darkening and new lands appearing. In 2026, we're seeing this shift in the magnetic poles, but it's very gradual. There's no one big event happening so far. And the new land, well, we could say that's the 5D consciousness state. Okay, we can make anything fit if we want to, but he spoke of the huge conscious shift. So with all of these events aligning, the sun is literally upgrading your DNA via light-coded information. Don't believe it? Listen to scientists. They're backing this up. They're actually reading this light-encoded information. Just like quantum physics had a breakthrough with the double slit experiment, they were able to detect and see waves of light and particles. We have the equipment now to see all this and document it as science. So let's talk about a somatic masterclass, how to split. You don't wait for the new earth. You render it. You manifest it. You render it. You're focused on it. I am here, fear-based. The world's a horrible place. They're the problem. Mommy and daddy didn't love me. And then you shift. You don't think that way. You now render a new pathway. And in this pathway, there is no blame. There's no separation. There's no judgment. You don't even want to do that. You are detached from that world. The things that bothered you before don't bother you anymore. It's like, it's just child's play, right? But you're still here. Okay, so be prepared for that. It doesn't mean you're being left behind. So the 39 hertz protocol to establish your frequency right now. The vagal clearing, the vagus nerve, use the VU sound to move out of the 15 hertz fear loop. The most powerful meditation is transcendental meditation. It was a technique, and it's much more than this, but basically it's using a sound and repeating it for 15 to 20 minutes a day, several times a day. You could go Om Mani Padme Hum. You can pick any number of things to say, but make sure when you hear that that sound coming from your mouth, it resonates, and you do that for about 15 to 20 minutes. You can do it. Nothing else, no music, nothing. Go into silence. What that does, it gets you off of the thinking mind, and you're going to get really good at it, and it shifts your frequency. It's going to be a clearing for you. The heartbreak coherence, you know how very important this is. Breathe 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. This creates the magnetic anchor that Dolores Cannon said was necessary to stay on the new Earth timeline. Okay? 5 in, 5 out. And there's other beautiful breathing techniques. If you're doing any of those, continue to do that. You're going to start to feel the difference, and it's going to feel beautiful. It's going to fuel your body. The sensory flood, hold 3 senses in your mind at once. 3 senses. This forces your thalamus to pulse at 39 hertz to bind the data. This is your exit from the matrix. 3 senses. So when I go outside, I say to myself one word: listen. Isn't that beautiful? All of a sudden, everything stops. You're now focused on sound. And so you're looking while you're walking. So that's number 2. And then you're going to listen, smell, see it, and go into this sensory focus. All right? It's going to stimulate the thalamus, and it helps you exit the matrix. You are now focused on the source of all things, not the crazy stuff going on. So the split, it is a choice. You can stay in the 15 hertz frequency of news, fear, demons, or you can move into the 39 hertz frequency of the observer. You now observe the world. Okay, you don't have to have a comment or a judgment in it. As the Hopi said, we are the ones we've been waiting for. The new earth is a frequency, and you are the dial. Now, Federico Faggin goes into great detail about what's happening in our brains and the shift when we go into meditation. This is real stuff. Do not discount the movement of the planets, the solar flares, and as Edgar Casey said, we are directly affecting those solar flares. And we didn't have anything horrible happen, right? You know, the lights didn't go out. Focus on the sun. Send your heart light out to it. It has healing properties. Of course, you always have to be careful with the sun. I look at the sun in the morning when it's low. I followed some instructions by doctors who said that that's when the optimal time The red light goes into your eyes. I do it for 20 seconds. Don't ever look directly at the sun. Somebody said, don't tell people to do that. And I said, well, actually, it is safe, but you have to make sure, yes, you're not just staring directly at the sun. But don't be afraid of it. We have to be careful with everything, but the sun is now playing a very big role, as are stars and planets. But remember one thing, none of it controls you. No channeler tells you what's going to happen. No remote viewer tells you what's going to happen, because they are picking up on their own rendering. So if I'm a channeler or I'm a remote viewer and I'm thinking a certain way or I'm in a certain frequency, I will pick up on the path and rendering, the reality that I see, right? And I'm going to tell you that's how things are, and I would be right. But it's controlled by my beliefs and what I'm picking up on, and it may not be high frequency. And I'm going to tell you, if they're telling you anything bad, they're on a lower frequency and they're picking up on that. And they believe it, of course. Again, this is real stuff. These channelers, I'm sorry, I'm not into it. I'm just not into it. I don't think you need to get another voice talking to you. Now, you may hear a voice, and that is your higher self, because every explanation, everything exists in this field of the unknown. If you're in a high frequency, you will pick up on the highest frequency answers. So don't go into that space or listen to things or tarot card readings if you're in a lower frequency, because you will not by accident go into the algorithm on YouTube and hit one that's not going to be what you want to hear. And that's going to affect your energy field. And now you're going to create, you're going to render that future. You have to stay steadfast, knowing that you're creating it. All right. So we exist on the same planet in different frequencies. Everything comes to you exactly the way you are thinking it will. When I was on my walk, I was thinking, shoot, I don't have a bag, because I'm seeing this garbage that these people come down to Florida and throw their crap on our streets. And sure enough, this bag starts tumbling toward me, and I went, thank you, picked it up. And I had a whole trash bag of plastic crap on my walk. If everybody picks up the garbage, millions of garbage bags are gone. If everybody lends a hand to somebody who's struggling, then millions of people now feel loved. If everyone compliments somebody instead of criticizing them, you will raise their frequency just by that act alone. Everything you do counts. It's time to work on that. So again, if you want to come into my membership, go down and click into the private membership, and you're going to get all the videos early without ads. And you also go into our weekly live session. Sometimes we're in there almost 2 hours. You can ask questions. I talk directly with you. And if you're not in there live, I send the recording out. And boy, we cover just about everything. It's a lot of fun. Also, if you'd like a one-on-one coaching session with me, this is what I do for a living. And that link is down there along with a really nice discount. Let's spend some time together and get you on track, get you in that high frequency and that new earth. I am sure that you're stepping into it right now. You are whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings to you, my friend. Namaste.